Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're Team M, and we are pleased to present our research of Luxoft Holding Inc., an IT company with headquarters in DAX, Switzerland, providing digital solutions to customers in financial, automotive, and telecom industries. We issue a buy recommendation with one-year target price of $67.2, offering a 41% upside to the closing price of September 29. Our decision is based on four main reasons, such as high industry growth rates, qualified workforce at modest costs, strong financial basis for expansion, and moderate investment risks. Our valuation is based on discounted cash flow model, supported by market valuation approach.
Luxoft is a global application software developer that is in business since March 2000 and was established as a part of IBS Group. Since its IPO in 2013, IBS Group received around 82% of voting power. The company operates in 21 countries that allows them to diversify their clients' portfolio among the regions and to deliver their services to more than 270 clients. 33% of total revenues come from the United States, while UK and Germany bring around 42% combined.
Luxoft diversifies its sales within next three industries: financial services, automotive, and telecom. The company plans to keep focus on them and double the revenues from these segments within next 5 years. Financial industry is the largest one for Luxoft and accounts for around 62% of its sales. The close known competitor is EPAM, which historically had growth rates 2 times smaller. We believe that this sector will stay crucial for Luxoft's future performance and will secure for around 63% of its sales. The average industry growth will be 21% in next 5 years, which makes it the second fastest growing segment for Luxoft.
Automotive segment secures 14% of revenues and is the second largest in the sales structure. Continuous development of autonomous driving as well as the unique experience of Luxoft with more than 5 years of presence in the sector will help the sector to grow up to 20% by 2022. Currently, innovative products such as CVNR are tested on luxury segment cars as Audi, but these products and prototypes are not widely exposed to public.
Telecom segment is number 3 for Luxoft and has 9% in revenue structure. The company managed to gain expertise and professionalism in this segment, and unlike Syntel or Global Logic, has large clients in their portfolio. We believe that company will continue its growth in telecom segment, whereas the development of data analysis, video content, and IoT will compensate for the stagnation in voice and SMS.
Despite the market growth, IT companies may face challenges with costs and revenue per IT specialist. Costs may be triggered by IT sector globalization, whereas revenue may suffer from intensification of competition. Both trends have negative effects on margin. Let us start with costs. Over 60% of Luxoft employees are located in CIS, where salaries are ahead of the market and has limited potential to grow. To illustrate this, we've done a simple analysis of IT specialist consumption basket. For example, IT engineer in Ukraine can afford twice as much coffee as his peer in UK, twice as much food as in France, and over 2 times more cigarettes than in US. This means that in all key aspects of IT specialist life, Ukraine matches top 10 countries. Of course, it's a joke. But according to PPP analysis, salaries of IT people in Ukraine and other CIS countries are already ahead of the market and are unlikely to grow significantly faster than inflation. On the revenue side, everything is more complicated. The intensification of competition is likely to put pressure on average ticket for standard outsourcing, while developing their own applications will still bring lucrative profits, but at higher costs and risks.
The most important thing to know about financial ratios of Luxoft is that its current liquidity ratio exceeds 100%. Furthermore, Luxoft free cash flow is expected to grow by 70% within the next 5 years. From the leverage side, the ratios are lower than the industry and are expected to be even lower in the next 5 years. On the one hand, it proves that cash management efficiency isn't the strong side of Luxoft, but on the other hand, it may support companies' activity on M&A expansion in the future and significantly improves the sustainability and resilience of Luxoft business.
We have assessed all the possible risks for Luxoft and its peers and identified the most relevant for the company investor. The first risk is high client concentration, while about 43% of revenues come from the top 2 clients and about 55% of revenues come from the top 5 clients. But this is a typical pattern for an IT company of similar size, and we believe that further growth and expansion will remedy this client concentration risk. The second risk is operations on different, diverse, and sometimes unfamiliar markets, as well as the possibility of inefficient expansion. Due to the global nature of business, Luxoft operates in different and sometimes conflicting tax, legal, and regulatory requirements. Luxoft has an extensive knowledge of cross-country business model and shall handle this risk properly. The key risk arising from the financial analysis comes from the governance side and companies' reluctance to pay dividends. We have analyzed bigger peers of Luxoft and identified that it is also a typical lag between IPO and dividend payments. But we have accounted for such risk by adding specific risk premium to the cost of equity, as our peers have better dividend policies. To sum up, Luxoft is exposed to a standard set of IT industry-specific risks, and management takes active steps towards their mitigation.
The discounted cash flow analysis was applied to determine the company's share price and was supported by market valuation approach. We used discounted free cash flows for a 5-year horizon based on the following assumptions. Each core stream of revenue of Luxoft was forecasted separately, considering the corresponding industry drivers. Given the company's expansion stage and rapid digitalization of all industries, the revenues are forecasted to grow at increasing pace from 17 to 18% within the next 5 years, reaching $2 billion. Key financials such as cost of sales, selling, general, and administrative expenses are forecasted based on the analysis of comparable companies and will approach industry average levels by the end of the forecasting period. That is because we assume that high gross and operational margins will converge to global industry levels in the long run. Terminal growth rate was assumed to be 3% based on the forecast of GDP growth in 3 biggest countries of operations, weighted by share in sales, and considering the increasing role of information technologies in the traditional industries globally. Beta for weighted average cost of capital was calculated using a regression model based on the returns of Luxoft peers and Nasdaq index. Relevered beta of 1.6 was calculated using the company's debt-to-equity ratio and effective tax rate. Moreover, a lack of a dividend payment by corporate governance was accounted as a specific risk in amount of 2.1%. The bridge demonstrates the transition between as-is value and the target value. The biggest value upside is created by accelerated industry growth, which allows for active expansion. The biggest downside is attributable to efficiency decrease, primarily drop in revenue per engineer. The reduction in operational efficiency is partly compensated by the effect of scale in SG&A, where the growth of business size would allow to reduce SG&A as a percentage of revenue.
Relative valuation was focused on EV to revenue, EV to EBITDA, and EV to EBIT multiples. These multiples were chosen because they proved to be the most suitable and the least volatile, since by nature they are less disposed to biases. For transaction analysis, we have selected companies from IT industry by date and size of acquisition. Thus, the share price projected by discounted cash flow was supported by all public company comparable multiples and transaction analysis.
We also ran a 10,000 Monte Carlo simulations on the variables which influences our value. These variables are growth in revenue by divisions, growth in revenue by IT engineer, and growth in cost by IT engineer. And we see that our target price is in the middle of distribution. Hence, we remain confident that such reasons as high industry growth rates, qualified workforce at modest cost, strong financial basis for expansion, and moderate investment risks support and reaffirm our buy recommendation with one-year target price of $67.2 per share. Thank you for attention.
Ready for questions? Okay, I have the first question. So your buy assumption is pretty much based on strong revenues growth, and your revenues growth is pretty much based on one of the last slides on financial sector revenues growth in financial sector. Please tell me why Why do you think it would be the case? And what was the historical share, for example, of the largest client, Deutsche Bank, as a share of revenues of this company? And why do you think it will grow? And if it will grow, how it may be influenced by the volatility of the financial sector for the revenues of the company?
Let me answer this question. So first of all, Luxoft has shown twice as better as industry growth rates in historical perspective. And about Deutsche Bank and UBS, that are our top two clients, we have Luxoft signs contracts that secure for more than 5 years their relations as B2B in B2B segment.
Moreover, as we can see, the biggest clients of Luxoft, which is Deutsche Bank and has 23.3% in the revenue, they have signed contracts until 21st year, and they re-signed this contract during third years. Moreover, Luxoft have over 45 potential clients who will generate for them more than $5 million every year for the next 3 years. And the first thing that we can see on this appendix is that Luxoft each year historically decreased the share of the biggest clients in the portfolio.
So, I'm sorry, just to clarify here, Deutsche Bank had quite large losses recently, and they have a contract that doesn't allow them to revise the contract for 5 years with Luxoft?
As my colleague mentioned, they have signed contracts for until 2021, and as history shows, they sign these contracts during 30 days, so they re-sign, and they have rather lasting business relations. Also, another key factor of growth would be automotive, because as we see on one of our slides regarding automotive industry, they have rather high compound annual growth rate that shows really perspective, and they have clients and develop even their own products. So they move from outsourcing model to development of their own products as CVNR, and they currently are being tested to be introduced in mass market.
And one thing to add is that Luxoft works with Deutsche Bank since 2003. It is one of the oldest partners. So Luxoft is now expecting latest assets to bring the same revenues like Deutsche Bank or UBS Bank as well.
My quick question, also related to the growth rates in the financial services, and it relates to the assumption at this page that you made that the 2 times higher than compared to competitors' growth rates will sustain. So the question is, what is the unique competitive advantage of the company which will enable them to sustain these abnormal growth rates, if any?
Okay, to begin with, as we see lasting, historically lasting business relations prove that services of Luxoft are required by these companies, and another thing that Luxoft makes their services hard to shift from. So these clients would incur high costs if they would shift just to another technologies. So that's a competitive advantage for Luxoft in terms of these banks.
I want to add some words. Luxoft operates in such segments of fintech that are the most perspective in the future. For example, in blockchain, with average CAGR for the next 5 years more than 50%, big data and artificial intelligence. These sectors are the most perspective and has the largest growth. Since Luxoft has large competitive advantages because they focus on the fastest growing segments of fintech.
Do you remember, or maybe you have it in your appendices, how Luxoft looks relative to peers on the price to earnings ratio, and Is there any reason that you didn't use it in your relative valuation?
Can you please repeat the question?
How does Luxoft look relative to peers on the price to earnings ratio, PE ratio? And is there reasons you decided not to use it in your relative valuation?
PE ratio we did not use, but Vadim will tell you about other ratios.
Luxoft currently is higher than median peers at returns on equity, since right now Luxoft has assets that doesn't work, but we expect the management team to work it out. So in the future, they're going to resolve this problem. So the ratios will be much more higher than at the current level.
I want to add that we choose specifically these ratios because they are less disposed to biases and they are less volatile. And in our opinion, they more clearly show the situation Luxoft compared to market. That's why we use this. PE we did not use.
Okay, you provided some analysis on about costs with some whatever Big Mac, pizza, cigarettes indexes. So, but seriously, how do you think it will influence, does influence your valuation if you expect that to be one of the important risks?
So Luxoft has information in its annual filings that even if there are any changes, for example, in currency, they have certain amount. For example, if we consider our CIS region, because we were focusing on that, regarding that delivery centers are mainly focused there, and the main number of employees is located there. So, for example, currency changes in rubles, 1% delta will cause a delta in $0.9 million in terms of Luxoft revenues. And regarding our salaries of IT specialists, Luxoft has unique actually positioning. Of course, we can compare it with EPAM because it's our main competitor, but still, they locate their delivery centers in such countries in CIS region where purchasing power parity is like twice above the American or European levels. Thus, it is rather more stable situation here for Luxoft, and we assumed that no strong difference will occur in terms of salaries in the next periods.
Yeah, I have one more question on valuation model. In your DCF model, did you use the flat capital structure, or is changing, and is weighted average cost of capital unchanged, or is changing from year to year?
I will start with weighted average cost of capital. So basically, we used market and not flat, but changing values, for example, for equity percent and percent of debt, because we believe that each company with such rapid growth will converge in some time to market, and thus we used ratios that were counted on the basis of its peers.
And as we have a very high liquidity ratio, and Luxoft has really much amount of cash, and we understand that such small debt now, that they would use this cash in the future, and it's really reasonable to use average market debt to equity ratio.
Time is out.